All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the end of the world with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu. And today we're talking about a masterpiece. I don't want to call my own work a masterpiece, Michael.
Well, you didn't.
Touche. Yeah, we're talking about an essay I wrote that came out last week, I suppose, that is about Ray Kurzweil, the prophet of the tech singularity.
Mm-hmm. And before we get started on that, I just want to jump in and say that when it came out on, can we use the word stack?
Yeah.
On Dr. Stu Watson's new stack. Before we get into the actual piece, which is fascinating, and what he's writing about is also totally in line with the theme of the podcast. Just wanted to give my friend, the doctor, a chance to describe the new project, because I also think going forward, right, the idea is that when Stu puts out some of these new things, we will be talking about them, maybe trying to tie them in with some other media that we're working through. So I just want to throw that over and give you a chance to tell people what the new project is.
Great. Thanks, Michael.
Sure.
Back to you. No. Yeah, the Substack is called Cybernetic Observations, and it's kind of an attempt to continue my academic work, which focuses on cybernetics and the way that it connects to literature, and specific 19th century literature, but also 19th century through contemporary literature in particular. And so I'm just going to be writing articles with the hope of demystifying cybernetics. I think it's useful, as we've done on a few episodes on the show, to talk about cybernetics because it's in the background of a lot of what's happening in tech right now. We've done some episodes on the connection between cybernetics and AI. This article that I will be talking about today is about the tech singularity, which is, from one way of looking at it, the telos, which is to say the end goal of cybernetics. If you see cybernetics teleologically, which you quite frankly should not. I mean, in fact, the whole point of cybernetics is that it is anti-teleological, right? It doesn't have one end in mind. It's actually much more about a process that is ever moving. But Ray Kurzweil and other people like Peter Thiel
would beg to differ.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of what I'm getting at with the whole article, not to put the cart before the horse, but, basically it's a misreading of cybernetics to imagine the goal of cybernetics is to defeat entropy and to create immortality.
Well, before we go there, which we are just going to go in, we're not going to be doing any news this time. We're just going to
We're going all the way, baby.
But I do just, again, don't forget, can you tell people sort of how they can find this?
Oh, yeah. So it's just cyberobservations.substack.com. If you go to Substack and search cybernetic observations, it should come up. You can also probably search, it's pretty new. I don't know if it's been indexed by Google, although also is Google even indexing things anymore? This is a big point of controversy in recent days, right? But you can find it there. You can also there's a link on my Instagram. You can also find links.
And I did just try. And if you type in Stu Watson Substack into Google, it's the first thing that comes up.
Oh,
so
good. Good. All right. Well, the system works. Google isn't completely cooked just yet. So yeah, let's enough with the prelude. Let's dive in.
Sure.
So for this piece, I was thinking about how, there's been a lot of talk of biohacking. I mean, we've mentioned infamous biohacker Brian Johnson on the show before. He's the guy who's kind of...
Yeah, how old is he?
He's a little bit older than me, I think. I think he's like 48 or something.
He looks like shit, huh?
He doesn't look great, but his goal is to be as physically young as possible, and he's been doing all sorts of biohacking. He's even...
What do you think of that goal? Do you have a problem with that goal?
Of trying to be as young as possible?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. It just seems like, I mean, it's his life. He can do what he wants, but it just seems like a
Sure.
waste of time.
Interesting. I'm sort of torn on this because it feels like it doesn't feel that, I mean, maybe you'll talk, I know you're going to touch on this stuff through the piece, but like sometimes it just feels like that is kind of part of trying to be healthy. Does that make sense?
I think there's a difference between trying to be healthy and trying to be as young
your kid's
as
piss or whatever he's
possible.
doing?
No,
Yeah.
he's transfusing blood from his son.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was drinking his piss. Is that
No.
not? Okay. Well, now I really don't have a problem with it. I was just on the fence when I thought it was a piss situation.
Okay. No, I don't think he's doing that. And,
Okay.
but this is a whole. There are all of these influencers that are like, you've got to sun your scrotum, in order to
Yeah.
get the maximum vitamin D. And there are people that drink piss.
Also talk about icing them, by the way, for your sperm. So you're icing, you're sunning. It's just a lot of testicle play in general.
Yeah. Which I mean, I think it's good to stay healthy.
Yeah.
I obviously I walk a lot. That's the main way I stay healthy. I walk 5 or 6 miles every day. But
Yeah. Whereas I just tend to just basically apply extreme temperatures at various ranges to my test.
But all this biohacking, because it goes further, there are people that are, trying to insert machinery into their bodies to like maintain their cells and connect their brains, stuff like Neuralink, which we've talked about.
Trying to get rid of the phi in sci-fi in a way, right?
Yeah, basically, I think that's a good way of thinking about it. And all this reminded me, of course, of the origins of sci-fi itself, which is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which we did an episode very early on. And I think it's something, I don't know if we talked about this, but one of the things that's interesting to me about Frankenstein is before he creates the monster and the whole story, unfolds with the monster, him rejecting it running off, etc., the cottage. His goal is actually a kind of biohacking. He wants to figure out a way to reverse cellular death and thereby bring back the dead, right? It's all brought on because his mom dies and he wants to like resurrect her. And then he gets sidetracked because he makes this creature, and that takes this thing. But
I'll get to it, Mom. Jesus, just give him.
Right? It's a little weird because after he makes the creature, he never even when he's making the creature really mentions the fact that was his original goal.
Original goal. Yeah.
He almost gets like distracted by it. But I feel like in the contemporary moment, we're kind of coming back to that original goal of Victor Frankenstein with biohacking, but also in a more ambitious and some would say ridiculous way, the singularity, right? This dream that Ray Kurzweil has been relentlessly advocating for over 30 years.
Can you just, for someone like me who hears it a lot, understands it only vaguely, could you give like just a succinct description of what he's referring to or what the term is supposed to refer to?
Yeah. I mean, the singularity is the moment when technological intelligence permanently surpasses human intelligence, right?
Oh, so like 1962.
Some people thought we would get there pretty early on and were wrong, right? But
So now they really think it's coming soon.
Kurzweil thinks it's going to be here by 2045, and then very likely 2030. And that
I like that. I love that style of prognostication. It's like 2045, give himself a bit of runway, but then still do the like, I want to make sure that I'm ahead of everything. So I'm 2045. I'm going to come in at 2045, but also thinking maybe 2030.
Yeah.
Just in case either thing happens.
Well, it's like a short position and a long position, right? Like
yeah, and there's other ways he could maybe see it happening in 2041. You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, all things are possible. Now,
and like, do you think it's going to happen?
Well, who knows if it is going to happen?
Yeah, I'm siding with it's not going to.
Yeah, it feels. I mean, we'll talk more about this once I get over explaining who Kurzweil is.
Sure,
so Kurzweil, like, he's from Queens. he had a really early aptitude for math, for computers. He was born in 1948. He went to MIT, studied with Marvin Minsky, who's kind of the guy who pioneered what we think of as artificial intelligence at these things that occurred in the late 50s, 56, called the Dartmouth conferences.
Yeah, we have an episode where we touch on that as well.
Yeah, the cybernetics episode. I think we mentioned the Dartmouth stuff. And so he was kind of like a protege of Minsky, and he went into business more than academia. And his kind of most famous invention is actually a synthesizer, like a Kurzweil electric piano, which that's something he invented. He did a lot of work on text-to-speech stuff because he wanted to create a kind of machine that could help blind people read without Braille.
Okay.
So, I mean, and like this is something that Norbert Wiener, hypothesized a lot about in the 40s and 50s. I think we talked in cybernetic episodes about the hearing glove, right? Which was this glove a deaf person could wear that would attune their sense of touch in their hand to the frequencies of sound and kind of like use that as an alternative system through which to hear effectively. Wiener wasn't really able to build such a thing, but he also died in 1964, 65, right? So it's, and Ray Kurzweil, what's that?
Tough sledding in that era to pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, a computer the size of your apartment is like 12 kilobytes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's not quite there. Kurzweil is still very much alive, right? And he still lives in the Boston area near MIT. He's kind of stayed in that area for most of his life. And, the synthesizers are good. They were really they weren't like super successful, but they were, like a concert pianist would be like, oh, for a piece of junk technology, this is pretty good. This concert pianist is pretty hostile towards electronic keyboards. But the real thing, he's kind of one of those people he's like an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, but none of his visions have like fully. He's not as rich as like a Brian Johnson, for instance. And I don't even remember what Brian Johnson did to make his 100 million or whatever. His real claim to fame, though, is as a futurist and as an advocate for the tech singularity. And the most recent book, which is kind of the topic of this article, is called The Singularity is Nearer. It's a sequel to his 2005 book, The Singularity is Near. Mm-hmm. That's
hilarious.
Isn't that funny? I mean, to his credit, I have quite a few issues with him philosophically, obviously. Most of the stuff he talks about in The Singularity is Near is on track. Like he was kind of right about progress in a lot of ways.
Interesting.
In terms of just how AI would come about and it wasn't like the specifics, but just sort of
about like computing power and stuff?
Like the timeline, like Moore's law and that sort of stuff. He's not completely crazy. He's got some I don't really say this in the article, but like the big thing with Kurzweil is when you're reading his book, you're like, okay, there's a lot of information here, but it almost feels like you're reading a Wikipedia article or something. Like he has a lot of citations, but a lot of them are to like popular press, and like it's not like reading a real academic study where someone has developed a thesis and then draws evidence that supports that thesis or disagrees with it, and they're kind of moving in a dialogue with a huge like it's more like someone who's gone through Google and is like, this article is good, let's include that, and this article's. I'm not doing the best job of describing that, but it's a sense you get when you're reading him where you're like, okay, like this seems
it's slightly more pop.
It's definitely a product of his being more of a popular writer for sure. But there are popular writers who are more convincingly rigorous.
Right,
it's
Dan
sort of
Brown.
I was thinking of the Holy Blood, Holy Grail people that Brown ripped off. Now that's some rigorous pop writing. A guy who really inspired him is this guy, Werner Ving, or Vinge. I don't know how you pronounce his name. I've never heard it. Who wrote in 1993 an essay called The Coming Technological Singularity. And, you know, one thing about Kurzweil that's also annoying is he's so relentlessly optimistic. He's just like, this is going to happen and it's going to be great. And it's like, well, Ray, but what about this? And he's like, nope, great. Did you hear me? It's going to be great. And you're...
what does he, just generally speaking, what does he think happens then? It's like, what is great in his mind?
Well, let me talk about like the background of this first, and then we'll get into that. Sure.
I'm just so confused by the idea of this being
we'll get to live forever, and we won't have pain, and we'll be immortal. Not literally immortal, but effectively immortal.
To be fair, touche.
That's what he thinks is so great about it. I mean, never mind what are the consequences of that. Something he's really not that interested in.
Okay, so he's not interested in the consequences, really.
Well, I mean, he's interested in the good consequences, i.e. not dying. But otherwise, so Ving's is the guy who kind of popularized the coming technological singularity in the 90s. And he's quite a bit more wary than Kurzweil. There's a quote in the piece that I cited where he says, "From the human point of view, this change will be a throwing away of all the previous rules, perhaps in the blink of an eye, an exponential runaway beyond any hope of control."
Sounds great.
Right. So the danger of the tech singularity is that once we've been surpassed by artificial intelligence, we're just left in the dustbin of history, right? Mm-hmm. In the past, we've thought about our technology as a tool, as something that we use to augment our lives, to augment our bodies even, right? But moving forward, we'll be like lab rats to this intelligence. Kurzweil is very aware of this, so his solution is essentially that we must merge with it before we get to that point.
It's such a great outcome that we have to merge with the machine?
Well, no, I think he's more saying if we don't merge with the machine, there is this danger that we just become its like playthings, its guinea pigs.
Right, okay.
And that's, this is where you get to the sort of Rocco's Basilisk and like the Zizians and all these people who are like trying to blow up servers and stuff, like because they dread the coming of the Skynet, or I have no mouth but I must scream AI that's just going to torture us forever in a hell of its devising, right? So Kurzweil's basically like, yeah, I mean, I guess this hellish hell demon AI could arise, but you know what? You know what'll stop it from doing all those terrible things? If we merge with it, right? And he says this is going to happen by nanotech, right? We're going to hook ourselves up to the computers through these molecule size, basically.
No, I don't. What do you mean?
Like we're going to hook our brains through nanotubes to computers, basically. And this is what, the Elon Musk Neuralink is like the early stages of this.
Have you tried that?
Have I gotten a brain thing implanted?
Yeah, did you try that out?
Not yet. No. Did you?
No, but I was thinking about it. Trying to learn Italian, and I was like, what if I could just plug this thing in? Would that do that? Does it do that?
Not now, no.
Not yet, I guess.
But that is the kind of thing that they envision you being able to do.
Just rattling off every language as you're walking down the street.
It would be instantaneous, right? Because you just have access to a database, in theory.
Sure, in theory, a theoretical database.
Yeah, but I mean that's not really how our brains work, right? That's not actually how, when you learn a language, you don't. It's not like you just drop a file called Italian into your brain. This is a persistent problem I have with these people, right?
Okay.
Because they act as though by connecting our brain to the internet, we'll just instantly become... I mean, Kurzweil later in the book says, our memories are like a Wikipedia page. And who doesn't want to have all of Wikipedia in their brain just to know everything?
100%. Yep, that's right.
But it's like, Michael, when you're trying to remember something, one of your childhood experiences or something that we sometimes talk about on the show,
But instead you just start talking about like Phoebe Bridgers' third album or something.
No, I'm just saying, like, when you have that experience yourself as a person, do you feel like you're accessing like a database in your brain? Is that your subjective experience of like trying to remember
Right.
something?
I understand what you're saying. No, that's fair.
Right? It kind of comes out of nowhere, not out of nowhere. Sometimes it requires effort. You think, oh, where was I? Was I at this place? Oh no, that was
Right.
1993 because this
Right. You don't like
happened.
close your eyes and see like a filing cabinet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't see a homepage, and you're not like seeing yourself typing the year in a little search box.
Right.
So there's a kind of odd idea that by just connecting our brains to computer, we're instantly going to be like computer man, and that'll be fine. It's like, yeah, definitely no danger of someone going completely insane by suddenly having every memory in their brain accessible instantaneously.
Considering how many people have already gone insane by having the internet in their pocket.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, who's going to filter that information for you?
Trump Jr., maybe? I don't know.
Barron Trump, probably.
Exactly.
He's probably on top of it.
You're right, yeah.
But I mean, this is one of my biggest issues with this whole idea is that it's under theorized. You can't just say the brain memories are like Wikipedia pages. They're fundamentally not like Wikipedia pages. Do you know you misremember things? You associate, you think something happened at this time, and then you talk to your parents about it, and they're like, no, it was not that time. That was a year before or whatever. And you say, but I'm so sure I remember those two things. Or you think you remember something really clearly, and then you're home for vacation, and you realize, oh no, I don't remember it at all. I just remember seeing this photo on the mantle that was taken that day, right? So we have all of these stand-in ways of triggering memories, right? Our memory works very indirectly. Sometimes you smell a perfume and you think, oh, that was my girlfriend sophomore year of college wore that scent. I haven't thought of her in years, or, like just a random event can trigger a set of associations that will send you in an unexpected direction that might end up being extremely fruitful, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing too. Like, I mean, I don't know if this information is out there in a guy like Kurzweil's theories, but like you plug in, can you like shut off the thing and just have your regular mind when you want it?
Who knows, right? It's not like
It just seems also so overwhelming to have access to all of this.
100%. That's why I suggested it might drive someone insane. So, how is this merger going to take place? Because it's like pretty iffy if this is going to work, first of all, right?
I would say so, yeah. You mean the merging between my brain and the internet? Yeah, I'd say it's iffy.
The internet and like every program? Are you just going to try and access a memory and just see a string of binary code?
You also just like, can you just be like, I don't need Bing, for example? Like,
exactly, right?
You have to get a brick, those things like the like anti-distraction device. You have to have a brick for your brain where you can like.
Yeah, it's your screen time limiter or whatever for your built into your brain.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I guess it's just me and you again, old brain. Damn, I was just streaming season 3.
I like the idea too of like you go back to your old brain that is like barely hanging on,
Right. I mean, what are the consequences for mental health of offloading? I mean, we've already talked.
What are the consequences for your physical brain? All of this stuff is just so unknown, right?
Yeah, it seems.
And they just talk about it like it's sort of de facto on the way, and
it's good. And not only is it good,
the rough
Michael,
edges will be smoothed out.
Michael, it's not only good; it's necessary. Because if we don't do it, the super robot will kill us.
Right, we become lab rats, right? Which, maybe it's time to start writing books about like getting a new perspective that lab rats maybe don't have it so bad, Like it's,
maybe right. Actually, the lab rat is a pretty cushy life when you think about it. I mean, we've already talked about ChatGPT and how much the offloading of thinking that enacts has been disastrous for education, right? You see these, I mean, this is anecdotal, but you see these people on Twitter, and who knows if they're being fully honest, but who are like, a student came up to me and was like, how do I write an essay about something I like? They're like, well, you list the elements of the thing that you like, and then you tell me why you like them. She's like, yeah, but what if ChatGPT, it's like the very sort of relatively simple.
Well, it's interesting, right? Like a lot of the people of that ilk, or even generationally speaking, it's like the idea somehow of, and this is an interesting problem that we sort of helped to create, right? Where like very early in this idea of like an information superhighway, and part of the way that all of this infrastructure was sold was that it would create this wealth of knowledge that was so accessible to everybody. That was like this inherent good for every person to have access to information, and that would make you sort of not only more knowledgeable, but somehow, have more wisdom or whatever. And now people who have grown up their entire lives are presented with something that really makes you feel in the way that like a con artist can, like you are having this intimate exchange of information, knowledge, and wisdom all at once. And if you take that away, then you sort of, not only do you maybe not have any idea how to do something like that anymore, like write an essay about something you like. It's also like, well, wouldn't I be doing a way worse job if I didn't have access to this dialogue with this, computer,
with this robot?
Right. And I think that like this is one of the consequences of sort of putting the idea of information sharing and knowledge as a sort of like godhead upon which like everything else.
Right, because it becomes a crutch that you become dependent on.
And it became a crutch for me when I had the ability in school to like look stuff up in a way that I wouldn't have if I had just been one generation further and had just, set up in the library, and I think about, because I was like a kid who, I was like the kid down in the local library that like all the librarians knew. And I was always there. I mean, I was like always there from like, I don't know, early, like 7 to 12, just like every day go down to the library. And, you do realize that like you're like looking back now, it's like remarkable to think about the powers of like research and understanding that I had at a very young age, not as like a genius of any, or anything like that. Just a curious person or kid who's like accessing this knowledge base in a way that takes a bit of distance, time, effort, right? Yeah. And
it has a specific location associated with it.
That's right.
Yeah, I used to like the library too, but I hated taking out books because I always feared I would forget to bring them back.
Oh, I had so many overdue disasters. I mean, truly.
I was so fearful of rule breaking as a child that I just I got in trouble for not taking enough books out of the library at school, actually.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I have a lot of books at home.
But I do think it's not, I'm really not romanticizing it. I think of that time.
No, there's something good. There's some
time of my life in the sense that like, in terms of learning. And it's not, I don't think it's just about young age and curiosity. I do think it's also about like the tools that were available by the time I'm in high school. It's like I have Google. I mean, I can do all this stuff in this more automated way. And now just imagine being a high school age now, like with what's available to you. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff is all very unreliable. I mean, there's bad info. There's always been bad info out there, bad theories, mistaken theories. But ChatGPT and Gemini, which occasionally I'll type in a query and Gemini will give me an answer and I'll just be like, not because I want it to. It's just the first result that comes back now for a lot of, things you type into Google. And it's just, I'll know that it's wrong. And it just
that happens to me, but obviously with like sports stats that I just know.
You're like,
typing in
no,
a guy.
Elvin Hayes actually played exactly 50,000 minutes in his
just
NBA career.
You search something about Jason Tatum, and then like the AI mode tells you how he, unanimously won NBA Finals MVP in 2024, and you're like, no, that wasn't him.
That didn't happen. Yeah.
Not only was it not unanimous, he lost to his teammate. It is very strange.
In any case, there's another problem with all this, which is if you can upload your brain, essentially if your brain is synced with a computer, it's no different than your iPhone. You lose your iPhone, you get it replaced, you can sync your old contacts back to the new phone. We could do that with our bodies. So you sync your brain to the cloud, You get killed in a machine gun incident at a Wendy's or whatever, but no fear. You're synced. You're backed up. They just fix your body, or body is not fixable. Well, here's a new robot, Michael. Let's upload. But isn't that? But that creates
no problem. I'm heading back to Wendy's. I never got my single.
But this is a problem because if your backup exists, that also implies that there could be more than one of you.
Sure.
Right?
And I guess that's a bad thing? Or you're saying...
Yeah, well, would it be weird if one day you're walking around and then just another you comes up and it's like, hey, Michael, I know everything about you because I'm you too.
Right. And are these things... I guess is the idea that these things would be consistent because they are...
They'd have the same memories, have the same brain.
Same memories. Okay.
Different body. But if... You know what I'm saying? If you're immortal because you can functionally immortal, because obviously someone could blow up the server where your brain is stored or whatever. This is kind of like a big problem. Now, Kurzweil gets around this, though, because he says, don't worry.
Okay.
Even if another you were created while you were still alive, you'd also be that you at the same time.
Oh, phew.
Because of what he believes in, which is called pan-proto...
Is that true?
Who knows? No, I mean, we don't know. Well, let me explain what he says.
Yeah, okay,
He says there's a philosophical idea from the ancient world called pan-proto-psychism. And
going with the ancients.
Basically says that every version of you, whether organic or mechanical, restored from backup, you will all share in the same consciousness. Why? No, he has no reason. There's no empirical reason that he thinks this.
He just says it will happen.
Yeah. He says that pan-proto-psychism, he says, one might imagine a sort of universal field that holds the potential for consciousness. In the interpretation of this view that I hold, it is the kind of information processing complexity found in the brain that awakens that force into the kind of subjective experience we recognize. In other words, he's trying to explain consciousness, which is one of the great, mysteries of the brain and of the world. And he's saying, well, I think it's because there's this pan-proto-psychism. Panpsychism, which basically means there's a mind in it. Pan means everything. Psychism means mind. And then proto means there's the potential for a mind in everything, right? So this chopstick that I'm holding up,
even things that aren't human.
Yeah, this chopstick has the potential somewhere in it for a mind. If its molecules could be arranged in the right way, and it could be part of the right, whatever object you have around your house, anything.
It just arrives in America.
Well, no, it comes when
there comes a fork, just like
oh no, a fork has come to life. Yeah, I don't think it. He basically is saying that if we connect our brains to computers, this brain could activate this potential that lies waiting in a computer. Another thing he thinks is if we build a computer that's complicated enough, has enough GPUs, to go back to the language we were using a couple episodes ago, that maybe it'll spontaneously appear consciousness.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Could
be 2045, could be 2030, maybe.
So I think one of the implications of this is that, like, if we have multiple copies of us out there, we'll all be the same because we'll all have been animated by the same divine spark of consciousness.
So if you had copies, right?
There's another me.
There's another you, right? But then there's you, and you feel you're the original you, let's say.
Right, but I'm sure the other me thinks that too.
And so you're going out and you're like, I got to go pick up whatever, cat food, right? And you see other Stu, right?
Yeah.
What do you have a conversation? Like,
well, I think what Kurzweil says is we'd both be the same person. Like we'd be connected. So like I in my original body would also be experiencing whatever secondary body is because we'd share one consciousness.
Like what I'm asking you, if you both end up on the same street corner.
Well, we wouldn't, but one consciousness would control both of us.
I see. Well, that actually sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, but it
So,
also sounds like a nightmare. Oh fuck,
I
I
mean,
have
it
to like
also sounds like it's not ever gonna
I have to
happen.
take care of these 6 bodies now. Oh, body 5 like fell in a manhole cover and needs to have like a new robot
Sure.
arm put on or whatever. Like
Right.
and like,
Yeah,
oh,
that
how do you feel when one of the robot bodies dies? And you're like, well, oh damn, robot body 6 snuffed out. A dump truck
mhm.
just dumped coal all over it or whatever. Are you like, well, I better get a new body to back? And what about, do you just keep one body like locked in a safe room at all times? Because
Well,
just,
then how I guess the a number that you have corresponds to your wealth, right? Which creates some
well, wealth
uncomfortable.
doesn't exist anymore because we're just like, we've reached utopia at this point.
So I
Everyone's,
would just be able to have as many copies of myself as I
yeah, as
wanted.
many as resources allowed. You know, presumably there'd be some like mother god
Something like
robot.
17 to 25,000
Yeah.
copies of
I
me.
mean, I don't think anyone would be having kids anymore. What would the point be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not having kids now, so I mean,
No, but I just mean like
once
nobody
I'm
would.
rolling around town picking up copy number
Right, and
7,434
like,
out of
what are
them.
the implications for children? So you have a child. This brain duplicating software hardware thing is available. It's like, all right, little Johnny, you're out of the womb now. Plug little Johnny in right away. You know, just
That's an interesting question. Are you waiting till whatever 25
right.
or whatever?
Yeah, is there like
Yeah,
an anti no infant brain module? You know, you should.
right. Well, I mean, I think you've read the script, but one of the ideas of one of the movies that I wrote
Yeah, no, no, I
is
know.
exactly that this idea of like if you do have something that can only work after the body and mind have developed to a certain stage, then instead of a childhood, you probably have these very, very protective parents knowing that immortality,
You got to get to 21 before you can
you
hook
simply
into the
must get to
net.
21. You think you're going out tonight? You're not going out. We can't have anything happen to you.
You're staying
Right?
in
We
the
can't.
safe room like you do every night.
That's right. You're going to the safe room. I mean, and I think that might be a very similar thing because one can't imagine that you just plug it into an infant, right?
We have to ask Kurzweil, you know, I mean,
Right. I mean, I'm sure he was like, it'll be fine.
yeah, it'll be great. This is what I mean when I say this
I
is
like
all.
the idea of like is it Three Men and a Baby? Is that, remember that
Yeah,
movie?
yeah.
I like the idea of like it's the three babies instead. Like it's one baby and he's like directing three men.
It's got 3 bodies.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, one of them's in
And
the
like
safe.
that's a good question too. It's like are all those bodies then the same age? Right? Like if
Right.
you
I
have,
mean, what's to stop if your child from having an adult body right away? If you can
because
just
you know,
transfer
with
their
our child, like,
consciousness.
you often want an adult body,
Yeah.
or you get into whole other body issues, like anybody who wanted certain type of body or certain features, like
Trans issues, for instance, are solved by this
yeah.
immediately.
I mean,
But it's
the whole
also
spectrum of
no. I
it.
mean, it really does. A big scenario is really possible here.
Yes. Which I mean, I guess score one for Kurzweil. That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, who doesn't want to be Hanks in Big? Um, so all of this is under theorized. That's my big takeaway. It's like there's so many more implications for this that he just doesn't address at all. He's just like, look, it'll be good. We'll be effectively immortal. And then also he doesn't address the fact that obviously the people who'll be able to access this are the wealthy, right?
Yeah.
And like, are they going to just in a fit of benevolence be like, now that I am a tech god, everyone should be a tech god? Are we going to have six,
I mean, famously, to be fair, most humans who flirt with godlike power do become massively better people.
Yeah, there's absolutely no stories in literature or sci-fi.
This is where he's exactly like all these
Yeah.
these guys, man. It's just like, yeah, there'll be some turbulence, sure, no doubt. But just hold on and it's gonna be amazing. And it's like, what are you talking about? Do you look around ever? Like people don't have like savings to deal with not having a job for 3 weeks.
Or
And you
just
think-
like people who do have jobs still can't go to the doctor.
That's right. And yet all of a sudden this capability is going to be bestowed on them.
That's
Like,
what I mean. We're living in a complete land of fairy tale here.
that's right. But that's the thing when people come up like with where the entire like their entire actual world of view is based on science fiction, you just get the most insane results.
Yeah,
of
science
just, like-
fiction, the famously non-dystopian
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, my other biggest issue is like if we have this infinite, effectively immortal life ahead of us, um, doesn't that destroy the capacity in the mind for beauty and for truth? It's like if it's getting back to what we were talking about before, but like if you
I
have
don't know.
all like
That's above my pay grade.
if you have all information at your fingertips at all time, like
Uh-huh.
what is it that's allowing you to judge what's good and bad, right? Because it's all just going to be ones and zeros on some level. Are you
Yeah,
going to
I
be
mean,
like,
that's
oh, that
interesting.
set of ones and zeros that is like the third Oasis album is like not as good as that other set that is the new Phoebe Bridgers album or whatever, right?
It's interesting because there is kind of a comparison then to the way that we consume like media on the infinite scroll, right? The process of indifferentiation that has clearly had profoundly terrible effects, not only on your own mind, but like political will, morality, and so on, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, the second half of the essay, which I'm not going to delve into this too deeply here. If you want to check it out, it's about Wordsworth and it's sort of
It's great.
it's another perspective on immortality, one that is not based on literal immortality, but kind of on attaining a deeper sense of your
Sure.
enmeshment with the environment and with species. But I think just to close out, I thought it would be interesting to talk about a version of this from a more recent work of art, namely
Yeah.
Twin Peaks, which I don't know, we haven't really talked too much about Twin Peaks on the show.
Which is sort of stunning.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite things ever. And
Mhm.
I've watched the original show and the sequel series and Fire Walk with Me. Brilliant
I
movie.
honestly think that Lynch is, I mean, maybe this is crazy to say, but a genius, like honest at the level of Brian Johnson. What do you think? And just before, like, my point is just like before you go in, because it is really interesting. I know that we're running a little.
Yeah.
I don't care. This has been great, but it's just like mere existence is what seems to fascinate these mediocre people who don't bother to try to like actually do something of real value. So just basically being able to extend life or somehow this dream world of making it immortal is like a good thing in and of itself,
That's
as
right.
opposed
There's no
to the
point to
value of
being
your life.
alive. It's just being alive itself that matters, right? Yeah. I mean, there's this moment in this first episode of the second season of Twin Peaks, which is directed by Lynch, written by Lynch and Mark Frost, who's the co-creator of the show. And, Bobby is this sort of boyfriend of Laura Palmer who's dead, and he's one of the suspects in her killing. And he's this sort of classic troubled teen archetype. He's kind of running around selling drugs. He's got some hoodlums that he meets up with, his awful friend Mike, for instance. And in the first season, we're kind of like, this guy Bobby is a fucking mess. And his dad is this character, Major Garland Briggs, who's this secret Air Force officer. He's got these connections to Project Blue Book and like the search for extraterrestrials. And it's a really stunning contrast because it's a classic like super straight-laced dad and rebel son kind of scenario. And you'd expect that Major Briggs would hate Bobby, but in fact he doesn't. And there's this moment where they're in the diner together and he just gives this insanely beautiful speech about their deeper connection. And I'll just read it. He says, a vision I had in my sleep last night, as distinguished from a dream, which is mere sorting and cataloging of the day's events by the subconscious. This was a vision, fresh and clear as a mountain stream, the mind revealing itself to itself. So just pausing there, we're already in the language of cybernetics and thinking about memory, right? And vision versus dream. Dream is just this kind of mechanical process of sorting the day's events. A vision is like something deeper. It's something that has a more profound resonance with your life. Moving forward, he says, in my vision, I was on the veranda of a vast estate, a palazzo of some fantastic proportion. There seemed to emanate from it a light from within, this gleaming, radiant marble. I had known this place. I had in fact been born and raised there. This was my first return, a reunion with the deepest wellsprings of my being. Wandering about, I was happy that the house had been immaculately maintained. There had been added a number of additional rooms, but in a way it blended so seamlessly with the original construction, one would never detect any difference. Returning to the house's grand foyer, there came a knock on the door. My son was standing there. He was happy and carefree, clearly living a life of deep harmony and joy. We embraced, a warm and loving embrace, nothing withheld. We were, in this moment, one. My vision ended. I awoke with a tremendous optimism and a confidence in you and your future. That was my vision. It was of you. I'm so glad to have had this opportunity to share it with you. I wish you nothing but the very best, always. It's this very moving speech by this father who, by all rights, should be very concerned about his drug addict son whose girlfriend was just brutally murdered and found in the town lake or whatever. And he's like, no, we're going to get through all of this. Like, and and it's this idea of like returning to this actual visionary, immortal place from which you sprang. And I tie this in the essay to Wordsworth. Wordsworth has sort of similar conception. But I think this is not practical immortality, but it's a kind of recognition that immortality can be better understood as like the continuation of the species, right?
Sure.
Of recognizing ourselves as like part of this broader whole. And instead
that's one of the interesting like examples of where this current idea, these ideas of life extension and all that sort of fall flat, right? Is that, you know, many of those people can talk about this as like a sort of de facto good as the birth rate plummets, as there's less and less interest in connecting.
Well, and as this in and of itself would obviate the need for having a next generation at all.
Right.
Which is the kind of ultimate fantasy of the baby boomers, certainly, but also I think these Gen X type guys do. It's like, what if we could just live forever and be in charge forever?
Well, I think the last thing I would say about it too, and like this is probably a little bit pie in the sky romantic, but I actually had this thought it was about a couple weeks ago. I was staying in like at Fire Island for a week, and you know, things kind of slow down, right? When you're just actually relaxed and you're able to, like, I was reading a lot and thinking a lot more and all that stuff. And you know, when you're doing that combination of things, is like you start to make connections that are like truly like unique. They've never happened in your life. They're based on things about your life. They're based on the world. They're based on the rules of the universe, etc., your dreams. But like, you know, at a certain point, you just have to back off like just take a look at what the point of life might be versus what these people seem to think the point of life is, which is essentially solving some sort of ultimately rather banal version of the mystery of the universe, to be able to live until they're 225 for no discernible reason, with no discernible aim.
Well, it's up to make more money, right? But yeah,
to make more money, ideally, sure. But like those mysteries and the amount of time we have, if we are lucky enough to live a healthy life, are more than enough. I mean, they are supposed to give you the type of meaning and contentment to pass that on. So like, you know, when you're out in a moment like that, everyone's been there, you're actually relaxed, you have some time. And, you know, I'm thinking of people that I haven't thought of in years. I'm seeing them in very direct ways. I'm sleeping and having these very vivid dreams. Like these mysteries can sustain you for your entire life, and it can be a life well lived. Like you don't need to drink your child's blood. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to sort of give that child.
Well, it's Frankenstein, right? Not Dracula, but yeah, close enough. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about Brian Johnson.
No, I know, but he doesn't drink it. He like infuses it.
Sure. So he's telling you. I'll tell you this much too. If he does come out and say I'm actually drinking it, would you be stunned? Would you be like, oh, I can't believe it? No, of course not. No. Brian Johnson, like if he could figure out that it was way better to drink it, you honestly think he wouldn't drink it?
No, I mean, I'm sure he would, of course.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that nicely resonates with what Frost and Lynch are getting at in this Major Briggs speech too, right? Is that like stepping back, seeing the real value in life is more important than actually living forever. I mean, Major Briggs, the character, disappears and goes into some trans-dimensional portal and returns as a floating head in the Twin Peaks: The Return. So, I mean, this is like he himself is about to die when he gives this speech, right? He dies within a few weeks in the chronology of the show. But yeah, no, I really like what you said. So in the article, there's more stuff. I have a bunch more stuff on Kurzweil.
No, this is good. There's a lot more in there to anybody who's thinking about
I figure it's better to leave. If people want to learn more, they can find it. There'll be a link in the show notes, of course, to the article. And yeah, so we haven't decided.
I think this is like an exciting new chapter for us, to be honest. I do think that there's going to be a lot of, very interesting topics that kind of give us a very easy springboard. What you think once a month or so?
Yeah, once a month, I think, or every 4 or 5 episodes. I've got the new essays already in the works. I'm about 8 or 9 pages into it. It's going to be even longer than this one somehow. I'll figure out what the best length. I mean, I'm still figuring out the Substack, like what shorter essays better, 10 pages, 8 pages, Right. But I just thought it'd be cool. I wrote this essay in the winter of last year, or the early end of last year, beginning of this year. And I figured, I would just put it out for myself rather than shopping it around or whatever, and maybe just see how that goes. See if I can.
And then in some time, I guess we'll also have some fodder from me. I probably will start a Substack as well. I'm thinking about putting together some pieces on increasingly deranged things that Brian Johnson might do, and just kind of throwing that out. Just really, honestly, Stu, more for myself, than shopping it around. Just like. What would happen if he did drink the piss of his child?
What if he had a tail, like a lizard tail?
Yeah, that's better too. I like that.
Yeah. Would he surf on the tail like Godzilla?
It's a good question. Like if Brian Johnson could figure out that a tail would really help, like would he just start to put a tail on his body?
I think so. I think
just check that out too. That'll probably come out in a few months. And, obviously.
All right, so we haven't figured out our topic for next week, but it'll be something good, I'm sure, something fascinating. So we'll tease it.
And we'll tease it out.
Yeah, we always tease it out. In the meantime, if you like the show, you can follow us on the podcatcher of your choice. If you really like the show, you can leave us a rating and or review on that podcatcher. We always appreciate that. Tell a friend about the pod, too. It's always helpful. You can follow us at Instagram at the End of the World WMS, where we post exciting reels from the show. So, yeah, check out the Substack if you get a chance. If you have an interest, there'll be a link in the description to this episode. And till next time, this has been The End of the World with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu, and we'll talk to you real soon.